On Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025, Jenkins LTS 2.492.3 was released. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at all the changes in that release. If you're new here, hi, my name is Darin Pope. I'm a developer advocate with CloudBees, and along with me today, I have Mark Waite. Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Darin. Thanks for asking.
So here we are at the end of another LTS cycle. We skipped last 4 weeks ago. We had things going on, and that's okay. But with the .3, thankfully, we're going to see that it was a pretty quiet one. But there are important things that started showing up since the .2 came out that we're going to take a look at as well. So, Mark, if people have never been around before, and they don't understand, okay, what is this Jenkins LTS thing? Or, we run Jenkins Weekly or whatever. What is a Jenkins LTS?
Yeah, so the Jenkins project releases every week, like clockwork, bang, bang, bang. Every 4 weeks or every 12 weeks, we choose a new baseline. That baseline every 12 weeks is then used as the stable base for a long-term support release. We release a .1. 4 weeks later, we release a .2. 4 weeks later, we release a .3. And then we start it again so that this 12-week cadence, 1, 2, 3, starts again. It's a great way to keep users healthy. You upgrade about once a month.
And speaking of keeping things healthy, in this release, it's a security release.
It is.
Now, there can be security releases that come at oddball times, if you will. Sometimes there is a .4 that's primarily a security release.
Right.
Fortunately, we're in a normal cycle here with a .3, and even though it's a security release, it's not massive, but I do want to call out a few things when we take a look at the release notes. So for the release notes today, we're going to start at Jenkins.io, and based on how I'm zoomed in, I have a hamburger here. You may see download just in your upper right-hand corner. Click on download. Notice you have a choice between stable and also weekly. We're going to focus on stable. Now, there was a weekly that came out, but because this is another one of the oddballs, anytime, most of the time, every time, how about whatever time we want to say, if there's a security release, there is a high probability that the weekly will wait until the LTS comes out if they're in that same week.
That's correct. We like an LTS and a weekly at the same time when we're doing security releases. We don't want someone to have to be forced to switch from weekly to LTS in order to get a security fix, or vice versa.
Right. So that was the case this week. Is typically weeklies come out on Tuesdays, U.S. time, and then the LTSs come out on Wednesdays, U.S. time. Again, if you're in APAC, I don't know what day you're in at that point when it comes out. I'm sorry. But anyway, taking a look at changelog. We can see here is actually a fairly small release. In fact, if we take a look back at .2, since we were here last time, it was also a security release with just a handful. So, yay, we did good. From the .1 to the .3, other than security releases, has been fairly small, which is what we would typically want.
Anyway. And we like that. That's right.
But taking a look specifically at the .3, let's take a look at the bug fixes, and then let's go into the security fixes, because that's really the key part for this release.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
Clarify a display message when build history widget initializes. Yeah. Bottom line was, it was my words, not in the ticket. It was a race condition with wonderful JavaScript.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So when I open a job page with jobs in it, sometimes it takes longer to generate that list of builds. Right. And it was mistakenly misleading the user and saying no builds until then it populated. It's fixed now. It gives you a better message.
And this other one. Thanks, Microsoft.
I don't know what you're talking about, Darin. Backslash in a username? Wouldn't you, first thing you ever thought of, put backslash in your username? That just seems logical. No way.
So there was a bug that was introduced in Jetty in, I guess it was in 15, right? 12.0.15. I've lost track, but it was in that ballpark.
Yeah, one of the Jetty 12 releases.
Yeah. But it was fixed in 17, thankfully.
Right.
So if you're, okay, I'm not going to get on a sidebar, too much of a sidebar. I'm going to take a little bit of a sidebar. If you're still having to log in using a domain name, number one, I'm so sorry. but it'd be domain / and whatever username is. So domain / username.
Right.
In this case, because of what had happened in Jetty, now at the GUI center of Jenkins War file is Jetty, sort of. It's wrapped by Windstone. So it's Jenkins to Windstone to Jetty.
Based on Jetty.
It's based on Jetty.
Yep.
So at the GUI center of Windstone is Jetty, and something happened, and it blew up on backslashes.
Right. It didn't like backslashes, and 12.0.17 resolved it, and we're very grateful to the Jetty project for doing that work. It was very kind of them.
That was small poke, but also a bigger poke of really there's other ways to log in nowadays. But anyway, that fixes that. Mm-hmm. Now the security advisory. I'm going to pull this open because I think for this it's sort of key here that we'll notice that there's something for Jenkins core. Mm-hmm. So anytime you see a security advisory, it may or may not have core. This is why it's really important to always take a look at the security advisory, because if there's no Jenkins core, then you maybe take a small sigh, right? Just like take a breath.
If core is not mentioned, it's only touching plugins, right. And if you're not using any of the plugins that are touched, you're unaffected by the advisory.
Correct. So that's the way to think about it. If you see core,
you're affected.
You're affected. 99.9 or 10 nines. There's probably a small chance. Anyway, core, we'll take a look at those, and then there are 6 plugins. Now, looking at these plugins for me and for what I would consider in most places, none of these jump out at me.
Right. They are not super high usage, any of them.
But I want you to remember what you just said, Mark, when we get to the bottom of the page, because that's going to be the key part. We're going to spend most of our time on this page. Mm-hmm. There were 2 missing permission checks that were here. Now, how do I know that this is core? Well, there's no mention of a plugin. So let's go through the first 2 so I can get to the third one. Here you'll see affected plugin. Right. So if you've never read the security advisory, this is how you read the security advisory. If you don't see plugin, that means core.
Correct.
And so there were 2 affecting core. They were both mediums and medium, but you should deal with it, because to me, retrieving secrets from agent configurations, you don't want that to leak.
Yeah, well,
right.
we certainly would not want someone to the secret shared between the controller and the agent is used to access the agent as that user on the agent. You don't want that leaked, right? No, this is a valid thing. You don't really want that leaked. Now the permissions required in order to have the leak are rather sensitive already. Computer create permission is already a pretty powerful permission.
Yeah, it's not root, but you're pretty darn close.
It's a very capable permission, right? You are allowed to create agents. Yep.
Okay. So 2 that are associated with that, and then we get into plugins. Mm-hmm. And plugins. Okay, so we're not going to go into details on those, because if you're running any of those plugins, you need to take a look.
Yep.
However, we get down to the bottom. So we have the details for everything. We have the severities just relisted in a nice stack. And then affected versions. Mm-hmm. And then the fix, except, as of the publication of this advisory, no fixes are available for the following plugins.
Right.
So Weekly and LTS mentioned.
Yep.
Here, 3 plugins have already had a fix. But then if you're using one of these 3 plugins, there is no fix. Period. And this is why it's important that you read the security advisory, because if you are using a plugin that has no fix, you might want to rethink some choices.
Right. You're running Jenkins with a vulnerable plugin means you're taking more responsibility than your company may want you to take, right? Because a known security vulnerability may cause portions of your company to say, that's unacceptable, you've got to resolve that.
Correct. That's all I want to say about that. But that's, since this is a shorter release, I wanted to spend a little bit of time here on the security, because understanding how to read a security advisory can either make you say, great, I get the weekend off, or honey, I'm not coming home tonight.
Right.
It's one of those, or anywhere in the middle. And this one is, okay, I can probably wait till the weekend.
Right.
Right. Just that's me talking. That's not the official word.
Sure. But
GenSec would say upgrade immediately.
well, but the CVSS score is another hint, right? Medium.
It's medium.
Is not high. It's not critical.
Yeah.
So there's a good justification there that says, hey, this one is not as dangerous as others could be.
I want to pull that up here too. We'll go back down to this because it's easier here. There's only one high in this whole advisory.
Right.
So, and just for grins, because I saw the high, it's in templating engine, and let's see, what was it? It was scoping things. There were a few that were below to where they were keeping plain text. Okay,
that's unhealthy.
Yeah.
Be careful there.
But again, looking at it overall, primarily mediums. So
Right.
again, if I am working tonight or working this weekend or working in 2 weekends, to me, this is a maybe weekend, maybe 2 weekends. If there's a soccer game this weekend, I don't.
Okay.
Or a NASCAR race, right? That's where I'd be. Anything else we can say about a security advisory? I don't think we've ever gone into this depth of really understanding what a security advisory means.
No, I think users and administrators owe it to themselves and to their organization to read carefully when the security advisory appears on your Jenkins Manage Jenkins page. Think carefully about that, and in general, you should plan your upgrade.
Okay. Well, let's go back to the release notes real quick.
Okay.
Because we should always take a look at the upgrade guide. Always,
Yes.
always, always. So we'll click on upgrade guide, and we'll click on 492. And fortunately for .3, there were no notable changes. So yay. Now, that being said, we're 4 weeks away from a new LTS. It has been chosen to be the weekly that just came out yesterday as well, 504. If we do more math, we'll be into the 600s, I think, later. But anyway, 504. So that will be the new .1 that comes out on
April the 30th.
April 30th. So there will be a second release in April,
Right.
assuming everything goes according to plan. We'll be back on May 1st at the same time talking about everything that's in 504. Now,
Right.
I know of one thing, because I've been playing with it in the weeklies, that there will be a video coming out about it. I don't want to say any more about it because I want to save at least a little bit of surprise.
Okay.
But it's a very interesting thing that may make a lot of security people happy. Or maybe not security people, security auditors very happy.
Good.
That's my opinion. I'll leave
That's
it
the
there
way
for
to tease. I like a tease. That's the way.
Anything else? Anything else happening between now and
Well, so
our 4 weeks?
So we didn't show the warning about Java 17.
Oh,
did
you're
we?
right. We
If
did
we
not.
could show that, I'd
Yep.
like to just
This is a good
remind
point.
people about that one if we can.
Yeah, because with this, let me get back over here. You'll start noticing as of, or you may have started seeing it already as an administrator, only way you can see it, that Java 17 end of life in Jenkins.
Right.
So since we were with you last 8 weeks ago, we have crossed this magical date of March 31st, 2025. Why is that a magical date? Well, this admin monitor comes to life 1 year out.
Right.
Correct? If I
That's
understand.
right.
Okay.
The goal is we know that Java upgrades can take a long time. So we felt good about, we're going to warn you 12 months in advance of the end of life of a Java version that it's coming to end of life. So you don't have to panic. This isn't a cause for grave concern, but Java 17 in the Jenkins project will no longer be supported after the end of March next year.
And what does that mean? That means no Java running the Jenkins war file.
Right?
That means no Java running the agent processes.
Right?
Java 17 running agent processes.
Correct.
To be clear, we're not moving off of Java. Java's still going to be there. Sorry.
Absolutely.
That's what's going to be there. But that's it, right?
Right. It doesn't mean that you can't build code with Java 8, Java 11, whatever. You can. That's very much. But Jenkins itself will be, by that point, running on Java 21 and Java 25. And that's where you'll need to be. And you just as well plan your transition now so that you can get started on it and do it in a time and pace that works for you.
So you just said something that might have set off some spidey senses for some people. You said Java 25, but it
Right.
doesn't even exist yet.
It doesn't, but it will release in probably September or October of 2025, and by March of 2026, I fully expect we'll support it.
If any of this sounds scary to you, we should, even though there is documentation for this, I'm going to click over to it because I don't think. So we talk about it here. Of course, there'll be new lines that come in.
Right?
We should have a link, Kevin, if you're watching. We should have a link off to the 2+2+2 here.
Oh, yeah, we've got the 2+2+2 blog post. That's a good idea.
Because that will explain the reasoning. I was going to use something a little more colorful.
If you click into that search box at the top and just do 2+2+2, I think you'll find it.
Will it say 6? I don't know. Introducing the support plan. Yes.
Yeah, there it is.
So this will give you, now remember it said on or after March 31st of 2026.
Right.
Because we don't forecast out 12 months.
Well, and there could be all sorts of surprises, right? We would be shocked, but it's possible that Oracle and the Java community will change their release date for Java 25. There are all sorts of other things that could happen.
There's
This is a transition. This is a transition period for us, actually, right? Getting onto this 2+2+2 cadence. We're still in a transition period.
Yep. Okay. So with that said, and thank you for reminding me on that. Anything else? I think we've covered everything.
That's it for me. Thanks, Darin.
So we have a month of April. So football is over. Basketball is over. NASCAR is in season. Hockey is getting ready to go into Stanley playoffs. I've lost track.
And spring is here, and summer is coming.
And you've only got
In the
6 inches of
northern
snow on the
hemisphere.
ground, right?
It's actually been unseasonably nice in my part of the world. Colorado's just lovely right now.
Texas is just hot, but that's okay. But
Sorry,
What's
I
new?
have no fix for Texas. I know about Texas.
all right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. If you haven't done it yet, go and give us a thumbs up on the video. Do all the YouTube things, and we'll see you back in 4 weeks on May the 1st. Right? It's not not even the Ides of May. It's the Ides of March. It's a different thing. Can you tell? It's been a while. Thanks for watching.